Good evening. Emergency, that was a subject I was talking about earlier. I wanted to touch on that. First of all, the lady governor of New Mexico declares an emergency to take away guns from people or whatever. President's doing this because they realized if I can declare a state of emergency, then I can take away your rights and just skirt any kind of judicial process or legislative body. Climate emergency, or like the governor of Hawaii, Maui, he declared an emergency, a housing emergency, so we could just, forget about the legislative branch and we'll just make the governor a dictator, because all we gotta do is just say it's an emergency. It's an emergency, climate emergency. So that's one part of emergency, and then there's kind of like your personal life, and everything's emergency, like what people need stuff from you, or people need your attention. Doctors, of course, they deal with actual emergencies probably every day. People in life and death situations where it's an emergency. But I kind of wanted to just touch on more of the daily emergency. I was talking with a buddy, but I was kind of trying to touch on that point more, of kind of a theme of emergency. It's like ongoing emergency. Yes, that's in government. Yes, that's a government theme, so they could stay in their power control. And maybe, if I'm looking at this through a certain lens, that the emergency will take me back, to the situation over here, that I need to be there to be a part of this situation, because I'm needed. It's an emergency kind of thing, right? So that can be used to pull you back, right? In this situation, to pull me here. We need, and that's fine. I want to be needed. I want to contribute, help where I can. I don't want to be absent. And when it comes to family and parents and children, I guess I'm old-fashioned. I think there's God, then there's the father, mother. There's an order, I think, that is good. I think a husband and wife should work together with things, and agree on things, and just be able to listen to each other, at the very least. Just be able to listen to each other. But sometimes in relationships, sometimes they don't work out for whatever reason. So, but yeah, I'd like to be playing a role. But I don't want to play second fiddle. But when it comes to actual health care, or drugs or medication, just talking about seizures, I looked up and I found out the keto diet was originally for children and seizures. That's where it was before it was a fad. But then they figured, well, they found out they could just take some type of medication, then eat all the sugary crap and still avoid the seizures, which the medication has its own side effects. And I'm not trying to say strict keto. You know, I'm okay with sugar, fruit sugar, but not processed sugar. Maybe sugar from fruit, honey, natural, which would carbs, but I'm not talking, but not bread, right? But yeah, that was curing seizures in children long before drugs and before the keto diet was any kind of trend, health trend. Of course, you have the carnivore diet now. People believe in that and everything else. So yeah, just when it comes to I educate myself. You know, Jai, you know, I brought this up with Jai in this issue with Margaret. And I was just telling Mark, you know, that I sent him that video in a text, a link, and he just kind of what's the word? Not ridicule, but it's where you kind of lambast somebody for sending something like, fuck that video. I'm like, what do you mean fuck that video? When you're uneducated about something, or when something's happening, wouldn't you want to, the first thing you do is educate yourself about the situation, what it is, what is, you know, what is a seizure? It's about brain health. It's about, you know, you start educating yourself. You don't say, oh, I'm smart. I'm so smart. I don't, fuck that video. Fuck that information. I'm smart. How in the fuck are you smart? So, you know, I respect Jai and his, you know, I do believe he's has good intentions, but I don't get, you know, I don't get that immediate response, you know what I mean? Like, I get being angry, and that's anger is not always a bad response. It's like, it just shows you care, basically, you know? Like, if somebody's angry, or they display anger or emotion, right? Or it's not like it's apathy. So apathy is really, you don't care, right? It's apathy. I'm apathetic. I don't give a fuck. I'm just apathetic. So in a sense, anger is actually good in a way that it shows that you give a fuck, in a way, right? You're saying I give a fuck, and you know, it's the degree of emotion kind of thing, you know. So yeah, but anyways, I try to educate myself as much as I can on any subject, and I you know, in the process, I might even get conflicting information, you know, that this says that and then this says that. Okay, well, what's the facts, you know? What could it be? Which one is better? You know, and this goes to fish oil, right? When I was told, well, it's fish oil. No, it's cod liver oil is better. No, it's MCT oil. Okay, so I was in a chat the other day. I was told it's fish oil. Well, no, and this guy was saying, well, no, fish oil, they're in cold temperatures, and we really don't need that. It's actually not good. And he was saying, so it's like coconut oil or MCT oil, right? More so. So I'm always open to kind of educate myself, and I want the best, you know, and I want accurate information. So I think without even adding the oils, I think we can add the oils if it's healthy for the brain. But I think even without adding quote unquote supplement, if you just clean up the diet, take out sugar, take out the carbs like bread, take out and add in the healthy fats. Even if you don't have seizures, this will probably help your health and brain and all that all by itself, right? So you don't have to be sick necessarily, have a immediate issue to practice good health. But sometimes you can get to that point where you're forced, you pushed it too far, where you're forced to pay attention. Oh, what's going on here? Right? You pushed it to that point where you have to address that issue because so with this seizure thing, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at brain health, stress, what causes that. It could cause stress, head trauma, whatever. So I'm looking at everything, taking away the tablet, the tablet, no more 8 hours, or on the tablet, no more like this, even if it's, forget about the Wi-Fi signal, but even if you're like on a computer screen with no signal, like if you're just like looking at that, playing a game, that's unhealthy. So just taking away all the unhealthy stuff and not adding the drug. See, the drug itself has its own side effects. So I don't want to have to do double work and fight the drug and fight, you know what I mean? So I don't want to clean up everything, then still have the drug. Then I have to deal with the drug issues. I don't want to have to deal with drug issues. I want to clean up all those other issues and not deal with the drug issue either, the medication, quote unquote medication issue, which from reading some of the comments has its own psychological effects, right? Not side effects, but effects. Oh, it's a side effect, or is it an effect? Effect. So, but yeah, emergency. There's an emergency. So yeah, the stressor level, emergency, red line, red. So stuff that calms you down is iodine, If I want to give you a drop of iodine, it's not a drug. It's literally something you need. You should have every day. Just a drop of iodine in some water, Was it potassium iodine or whatever with kelp in it? Little tincture, just take a little drop, and that's it. It'll help you sleep better. You'll have a more relaxed mood throughout the day. I'm not saying there's not going to be any stress or stressors. Magnesium, it's another thing. So I got some magnesium gummies that has sugar, so maybe I'll try to figure out a different source without sugar. But just immediately I just do what I know off the bat. When I heard about this, I was like, okay, magnesium was my go-to, and I didn't know anything else really. I didn't think about the brain health. I didn't think about any of the fats, cutting out sugar. And that's why I research, and that's why I listen to other people. I look at what other people say. Look at the history, the case studies of these children being cured by the keto diet, right? I don't think I'm Mr. Know-It-All, right? I don't try to be Mr. Know-It-All. So, anyways, yeah, so there are things that stress us out, and there's ways of dealing with stress, right? There are real stress issues, and there are ways to get rid of that stress. One is grounding, right? Grounding, putting your foot on the ground. So you got the hot, we're electrical, hot and ground. So if you have an electrical outlet in your room, in your bedroom, and you have a grounding mat, what the grounding mat will do is just use the electrical ground, which you have the two prongs, and you have the ground circle, and that's the ground, right? That's the ground and on the electrical outlet. So what that will do is just use that ground. So you can, tie a ground, you can get a grounding mat, you can ground while you sleep. You can yell, you can hum, you can you can I know that the Yoko Ono, she was doing a yelling art. I can't even think of what she was doing now. She was yelling. But yeah, you can express emotion, but I probably wouldn't want to yell, but you can just hum and meditate, But I would say probably ground, because when you're live, when you have a lot of stress, like a live wire, you have no ground. If you had a ground, if you were grounded, you wouldn't be stressed. I mean, it's almost impossible to have a lot of stress when you're grounded, because the stress will just go to the ground. So, yeah, ways to deal with stress. I mean, you could look at the environment. If it's toxic with 5G frequencies all over the room, you got the TV plugged in, you got Alexa, you got all these frequencies going in and out of the room, Unplug everything at night when you sleep, Or put your phone in airplane mode so your alarm still goes off in the morning, whatever. Yeah, just ways to de-stress. Go for a walk. But basically, you got to figure it out, because if you don't figure it out, if you don't own it, then it owns you, right? It owns you. It's got you, And then you can it can take its toll, it can take its toll. So I know during the whole COVID stuff, the psychological warfare operation that people had to undergo, it definitely caused stress for so many people, for sure. Unneeded psychological warfare. But yeah, I mean, I remember that's when I found out about magnesium, magnesium bath. I mean, just throw some magnesium flakes in a bathtub. Man, that's so relaxing. You're going to sleep like a baby if you do that, definitely. You don't need to drink alcohol, Just take a nice magnesium flake bath. Man, it's great. It's a great way to relax and sleep like a baby. You don't need to smoke weed, So there's definitely different ways to relax, You can start writing, write it down. Think on paper, as they say. What I used to do, I had this voice recorder, and I have it on my phone actually too, where I can hear my own voice, my voice back live through the microphone, you know, live real time feedback. So I used to do that a lot. It was kind of soothing actually to hear my own voice in my ears through the filter of the microphone. But it actually changes how you talk. It'll change how you talk a little bit, because you're ministering to yourself in a sense, to the spirit that's in you through the earphones. So it's like, even though I can hear myself now as I talk, and we have to, it's a different layer of filtration, and it is kind of like talking to yourself. So if you sound a little rough or whatever, you'll make adjustments that you wouldn't normally make without the earphones. And I guess that's why, you know, they have them on in studio, so they can hear themselves talk back, I guess. I think it's kind of overkill. Like if you're on Joe Rogan and you're wearing these headphones and you're talking to somebody right in front of you, just take off the headphones, have a sound guy, and hey, I sound okay? Yeah, okay, well, I don't need the headphones, then that's fine, you know. So that's kind of lame. I mean, you're interviewing somebody for like an hour or 2 hours, and you got these headphones on the whole time on your ears. Really? That's just like, it's not, we're not being real. We're doing a headphone thing. It's kind of less personal in my opinion. I mean, that's why you have sound guys for, right? I mean, so yeah, you can do that. I used to do that. I have that app still on my phone, and actually the other day I bought one of those. I bought a little machine that does that too. It's like $7. I think I got a good deal at thrift store. So it kind of magnifies sound, and you can listen to it. It's kind of cool. Yeah, stuff that de-stresses you. I don't know. I've been into rocks a lot. Different rocks, different beads, types of stones. You know, kind of paying attention to our self-talk and our thoughts. A lot of times we'll just have this track running in our head, and or train, you know, really the only way to stop that train is to meditate, you know, because it's always going to be going, you know, it's always working. As the Power of Now, kind of, he puts it really simply. The possessing entity, he says the thinker and the possessing entity. If we can observe the thinker, our thoughts, yeah, then who's doing the observation? So if I can observe my thoughts, then who's thinking, right? And who's doing the observing? Then you separate yourself. So then there's like immediately a new layer of consciousness. So then I'm not in the train. I can just watch the train, you know, and detach myself from that. So yeah, I mean, books like The Power of Now are great books to read and reread and reread over again, you know. You can just keep rereading it. It's really kind of a power-packed book, actually. Some books can kind of be lengthy and they'll get to the point in certain chapters, and then they'll have like this drawn-out thing. But that book is really power-packed, actually. It's really like a nutrient-dense food would be, you know, where you don't have to eat a lot to get the nutrients. You just kind of turn a page and you got another kind of nugget of gold, right? So that's a great book to read, you know. And so yeah, meditate, just kind of breathe in and breathe out. you know. Focus on your breath. That's all. That's how you meditate. You just focus on your breath. You know. So it's not raining. It's a sprinkler, by the way. But yeah, I guess that's it. Is there an emergency? A state of emergency? Yeah, we got the climate emergency. We got a homeless housing emergency in Maui. Before the emergency, there was an emergency declaration. So we have a dictator emergency of dictators. And I guess, you know, if you ever feel powerless, just declare your own emergency. And you can give yourself all kinds of special powers by doing that. I got an emergency, and you know, I declare myself king. That's pretty much what's going on with government, presidents, governors. You know, they have to show the emergency, show it. When does the emergency end? Well, it's an ongoing emergency. There is no end. So it's an ongoing an ongoing need, you know, hunger. So it's an emergency. And you know, sometimes we can get stressed or try to fight things. You know, sometimes you try to fight what's going on instead of just kind of flowing with it and going with it, you know. Like life pushes you in different ways, and sometimes you can fight it, and or you can, you know, kind of go with it. Like my ex was asking me money for money, and it's an emergency. She needed money for her car, and if you don't get the money, you don't pay the car, then you lose your car, because you got to make these payments. So then what happens if you lose your car? Does life end if you lose the car? No, life does not end. And you have to focus on your health. And you can't let, you know, the talk I was listening to the other day, they were talking about pharmaceuticals and the basic general life, you know, whether she was talking about America, but could be anywhere, where it's just if you're stressed every day, like the stress of traffic or the work, or you know, you're grinding your life out of you. You're draining your life and putting it in to your work, or putting it in, and it's causing you stress. It's draining you, you know. So we do need to work, we do need money, we need to live, I get it. But you don't have to let your life be drained, sucked out from you. Because you're not going to die, you know, if you lose your car, you're not going to die. If you lose your house, you're not going to die. You know, I mean, it might suck for a little bit, but, you know, you're just going to, it's going to be okay, and you can change, and you can move somewhere else. You can get another house or a roof over your head somewhere. You're not going to die, basically, right? That's my point. So things that we think could be emergencies are not necessarily always an emergency. You know what I mean? And I know rich people, millionaires or something, sometimes they lose money or they lose something big, and they will kill themselves. You know, they will kill themselves, and they have killed themselves because they lost money or they lost a fortune or something. Even, you know, this has happened. So we kind of need to put things into perspective sometimes, I think, and to try to think, you know, look at what good might come out of something. You know, what good might come out of even losing a job or something, you know, being pushed out somewhere, pushed out of of a thing, you know. Maybe you're being pushed into something better, you know. So it can be kind of about perspective and how we flow with it or deal with it, or, you know, things. And it's always good, of course, to have good friends and family around to kind of fall back on, of course. That's a good thing. But even if you have nobody, I guess, you know, you're probably not going to die. Probably not going to die. Probably not going to die. Even if you lose everything and you're still alive, you know. But yeah, I hope people get to the bottom of what's going on in Maui and don't lose their land. And I hope everybody there that survived can keep their land. And if there was any foul play involved, like TNT in the water, I'm hearing that missing school buses were found or seen in a military base. I don't know if that's true. Missing children. If there's any wrongdoing or foul play, I hope that will be found out, and everything will be not get away with it if it was a criminal thing that happened there. Anyways, I guess that's all I got to say right now. Okay.